Good evening, everybody. Let me get set up here. Okay, let's get started. Jump right in. I hope everybody's doing well, staying home, staying safe in the midst of this virus, and getting your claims done and having some success. So, we already got a couple questions, so we'll jump right in. Let's see here. This is a good one. If you are permanent and total, can an open appeal for totally separate issues cause your permanent and total issues to be reevaluated? Generally, the answer is no. They won't mess with your P&T issues. But I say that with the disclaimer that it's the VA, and the VA can do pretty much what they want to. And if somebody handles it that doesn't know what they're doing, the chances are small. They might try to send you for a reevaluation, but generally, most 75–80% of the time, they don't touch the issues that don't have future exam date, unless you're asking for something to happen with those issues. So that's a great question. Recently denied sleep apnea secondary to service-connected PTSD. QTC examiner opined the clinical study cited by American Academy of Sleep Medicine and sleep do not indicate a causality between PTSD and OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. How do you rebut this? I think you're likely going to have to get a private Nexus letter in order to rebut that. You're going to need another doctor to say that it's either caused by or approximately due to or aggravated by. That's what I would appeal this and ask for a higher level review if this is the only issue. Mind you, I haven't reviewed your file, but I would ask for a higher level review because the examiner didn't address proximity or aggravation. And those are two prongs of a secondary that can be secondary too. They only address causality. Does your PTSD aggravate your sleep apnea? Is it proximately due to your sleep apnea? There are more questions that should have been asked. There's other links that can be linked. The CMP examiner says I am not competent to handle finances. Should I fight it or ask a friend to be my fiduciary? It's completely up to you, but it is easier if you don't agree with the decision. It's easier to fight up front. So I would suggest that if you do not agree and you think you can handle your own finances, that you find a way to prove it to the VA, ask for a hearing, ask for something to get that turned around at the beginning, because once they start, it's going to be a tad bit harder. So you want to get that turned around now instead of sooner rather than later. How long has it been taking with remands? I would say 12 to 24 months. It's a long time that remands are taking. I get this question almost every time I go live, but remands just aren't moving fast. Maybe once they get these legacy appeals out of the way, they will work faster on remands or something like that, but at the current time, remands are taking a long time. I filed a secondary claim for flat feet due to an ankle condition. My doctor filled out a DBQ and did a Nexus letter. Why is it in gathering of evidence? Gathering evidence is one of the beginning stages of the claim. It means that somebody needs to look at it, probably a VSR, Veteran Service Representative, and decide whether an exam is needed or not. It sounds like you've given them everything they need, so they might not order an exam, especially in this virus environment. So it's just at a stage where somebody needs to touch it. That's what I call it when VA employees do something on your claim. So it's nothing to be nervous about or anxious about. It's just one stage in the process. Okay, questions, guys? So I need to not worry about anything else dealing with the claim. I suggest you not worry at all, but I'm not saying that it won't get denied. The VA can still get a medical opinion and it come back negative, and they weigh the evidence and decide their opinion holds greater weight than your opinion, than a private opinion, and deny the claim. But generally, if you've supplied everything, they don't have to order an exam, and they don't order an exam, you're probably good to go. So you just need to wait and see what they do next. Are DBQs discontinued for all cases? This is a good question. Basically, DBQs have been taken off the VA website. That does not mean you cannot still use the DBQ form. I believe a couple folks from these groups veterans groups have posted them various places. I know one is vcag.info, Veterans Claim Assistance Group. They posted them on their website, but they're not discontinued from use. They just are not publicly available anymore, and the VA is not going to update them anymore. And so you can still use them. You can still turn them in as evidence. They haven't said that you can't turn them in as evidence. I don't think many of them have expiration date on them. And so they're still good to use at this point and great evidence in your case. Explain a Nexus letter, please. A Nexus letter is basically a letter saying that there is a relationship between what you're trying to claim and your service, or either a relationship between what you're trying to claim and a service-connected condition, or that you had a pre-existing condition before service and it was aggravated by service. That's what a Nexus letter is. It's making the connection. It's a doctor, physician assistant, nurse practitioner writing out the, pretty much laying out the landscape for the VA, saying, I reviewed the file. In my opinion, it's more likely than not that the flat feet are directly due to his service, or the flat feet is due to his back pain, or foot pain is due to his back pain. So a Nexus letter, you could put, it's a connection, it's a nexus. It brings everything together and connects the dots for the VA so they can grant the claim. Follow-up question. Can you do a supplemental claim 200995 versus HLR? Yes, you can. You have that option. Are VA claims officers still working? Very much so. The only thing that has happened is they've closed the regional offices to the public walking into the regional offices. They are still working. I get lots of claims decided every day, decisions, things are moving, and they're still doing exams. They just aren't doing in-person exams. But yes, VA claim officers are still working, and the VA has the ability to, VA employees have the ability to work remotely. So even if they were out of the office, they could still work. Will protesting fiduciary affect my rating? It should not. Some of my conditions have worsened since my first claim. What is the process to try to get reevaluated? It's simply to first look at the rating schedule and see the rated schedule for rating disabilities. It's part of the law, a veterans law, and see if there is any increase for your condition. For example, if you are service connected for migraines and you are already at the 50% level for migraines, you're not going to get any higher. So there's no use in putting in a claim. But if you're at the 0% or 30% for migraines, then there is room to put in a claim because you can go higher than where you are. So first find out if there are higher levels to your condition, higher levels of percentages. And then you simply need to put in a claim for increase. You can do that in a paper application, the 526EZ form, or you can do that electronically on eBenefits or va.gov. And then just choose the option. When you get, it'll walk you through it step by step. And when you get to the option, there'll be an option to increase a current service connected condition. How can I get a copy of my medical records? They were lost for a long time, but a VA rep finally found them, but I don't have a copy. When I try to get a copy, they always send me a copy of my personnel records. I'm already rated, but need to file additional claims. The fastest way to get your medical records would be to get a representative who has electronic access. That means they have access to the VBMS system, Veterans Benefit Management System. It's the system that VA uses to process claims. It contains your claims folder electronically and all that good stuff. A lot of VSOs have access, claim agents have access, attorneys can get access. So you need that. The absolute fastest way to get your medical records would be to find somebody with electronic access. The second way is to request them and make sure you're really, really clear that you want your medical records and not your personnel records. It might be that they don't have them anymore stored in the archives. But if your VA rep was able to find them, why didn't they print them out for you? There's a program on the VA system called, a software called eFolder Express. And so I can download a whole file in minutes, literally. I mean, thousands and thousands of pages. I downloaded 4,000 pages the other day, and it only took maybe 10 minutes. So there's a program called eFolder Express, and a representative can access it and download your file for you. They should be able to, even if they won't print it, sometimes they could put it on a CD or they can email it to you or upload it to Google Drive or something like that so you can access it. I was told by VA and LHI that VA was not doing CMP for mental health by telemedicine, but I see some people say that they had theirs by telemedicine. What should I do? They have moved to doing exams by telemedicine. I should say at the beginning of this virus, they were not, but they announced maybe last week or the week before that they were moving to telemedicine instead of in-person exams, that they had emphasized it with the examiners, and they had emphasized it with the contractors, which is LHI, VetFed, QTC, Veterans Evaluation Services, and there's one more. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they have re-emphasized how to do telemedicine exams and ACE exams, where the ACE exam is where the veteran is not seen in person at all. It's just a record review. And so what should you do? You need to wait until they give you an appointment, or you should call LHI back and see, number one, if they schedule anything by telemedicine, and number two, if you have an appointment at all. If they schedule anything by telemedicine and the date of that, you certainly don't want to miss your appointment. I had a veteran who got just a letter from VES in the mail, and it did not say specifically that the appointment was telemedicine. He did not know that until he called. Of course, the paperwork didn't have an address or anything like that, but he didn't know until he called that his appointment was Saturday, and it was by telemedicine, because they had sent an email to a work email he doesn't even use anymore. So the contractors can get it wrong if they don't have your contact information correctly. The message might not get to you like it's supposed to. So if you know LHI is the one who is contracted for your exam, call them, find out what's going on. Even if you have to bug them, you call them every couple of days, keep doing it, and find out what's going on with your exam. Can you claim insomnia secondary to asthma with sleep apnea, even though insomnia can be a symptom of sleep apnea? Yes, you can. And it getting connected, they usually rate insomnia as a mental health condition. So, you don't want to get in the CMP exam and make it seem like it's just a symptom of sleep apnea, but it's a condition caused by sleep apnea. So it can also be a symptom, and that line is thin, but it can be done, and I've seen it done. I found out today that my wife is now pregnant with our first child. Congratulations. Is that something I could use to get my decision quicker? I don't think so at the present time, unless you're about to be homeless or you're over the age of 85 or you're having a financial hardship. I mean, you could argue that you're going to have a financial hardship, but let me put it like this. The list of hardships, or the stack of hardships that the VA already has is real high. So it's not, claiming a hardship is pretty much not going to make your claim go any faster. Basically, you're just going to have to wait it out. If you put in a claim, it's going to be 2 to 3 months. If you have an appeal, it's going to be longer than that, depending on what type of appeal route you chose. I requested a CMP exam through DAV, and they submitted a supplemental claim for me. The VA intake center already asking for more evidence. Does that mean my exam was denied, good or bad? Sometimes they send out those supplemental letters, subsequent letters, what the VA calls them, correspondence. So they can see if you have any more evidence. If they give it 30 days, it does not mean you were denied an exam. It just means the next person who looks at it is going to look to see if you submitted any evidence. And when they evaluate your claim, if they don't think you submitted new and relevant evidence, they're not going to give you an exam. But if you did submit new and relevant evidence, which is the standard for a supplemental claim, you will likely get an exam. The threshold for ordering the VA ordering an exam is very, very low. That's what case law says. What documentation do the claim examiners look for in an appeal of 100% disability start date for a defibrillator pacemaker? I'm assuming you're talking about the effective date of your claim. They're looking for when you filed the claim. If there was any error in a previous decision, they might look for that concerning the date, but that's not common. There are a few ins and outs of effective dates that you could argue that you had an earlier effective date, but that's not common. Generally, it's the date that you filed the claim, and being a defibrillator or pacemaker doesn't make any difference. If you're fighting an effective date, you're fighting an effective date. It doesn't matter what condition it is. What if I'm connected for PTSD combat? Can I claim insomnia separately? The answer is no. PTSD and insomnia are both rated as mental health conditions, and the VA does not allow pyramiding. That means that you can't be rated for two except in very rare circumstances, you can't be rated for two mental health conditions. And so claiming insomnia would just be claiming pretty much an increase for your PTSD. They're going to come, if you claim insomnia and the examiner finds you have PTSD and insomnia, they're going to combine the two and give you one rating. Generally, what I see, I'm not a medical professional, but generally, insomnia is a symptom of PTSD. It's not a separate condition. Multiple myeloma is a presumptive claim at Camp Lejeune, but I got denied for it after serving at Fort Ord. They both had the same contaminants. What should I do to get my claim approved? You're going to need private medical evidence. That's pretty much the gist of it, because the exposures at Fort Ord aren't listed as presumptive. But it had the same contaminant, so you can use that in a Nexus letter. A private provider can use that to justify why your condition could be service connected. If you were exposed to contaminants, you should definitely keep pursuing it. Don't give up. Don't let the VA push you around on it. Get some private evidence and turn that in and beat the VA. Is chronic pain difficult to service connect? I found that it's not that difficult to service connect. It depends on what you're claiming it secondary to, but by itself it might be difficult, just depending on what type of evidence you have. But if you're claiming it secondary, that's a little bit easier to claim, and you need to make sure that the examiner knows that pain is one of your triggers. It's a big factor in your mental health, and it affects your everyday life, every aspect of your everyday life, and that type of thing. I'm currently 50% for PTSD. It has gotten worse for prescribed medication for my lack of sleep, maybe 3 hours at a time, and requested sleep apnea test. Could I file that secondary to PTSD? Yes, you can. Can I claim diabetes to migraines or tinnitus? Can I claim diabetes secondary to migraines or tinnitus? To be honest with you, I don't think that I've seen that connection. I've seen migraines secondary to diabetes, but diabetes secondary migraines I haven't seen. But I would encourage you to search the BVA Board of Veterans Appeals database and see if you find anything there. And that's my best advice. See if you can find the connection there. And then if you can find any studies that link the two, and that would be helpful to your claim. Hello, Carmella. Hi, how are you? My appeal, I was assigned to a BVA judge last week. How long before I expect a decision? I would say 1 to 2 months. I've been seeing decisions after they get to the judge taking 1 to 2 months. And your representative should be able to see it in the system before you get a letter. So the new system software that the VA uses for appeals is called Case Flow. And as soon as a decision is made, even when it's not signed by the judge, the representative can see the disposition in the system if it was denied or allowed. So definitely get a representative with electronic access, and they can track your claim, and they should be keeping you updated. My case was supposed to be expedited. I submitted my claim on February 2nd and had both of my CMP exams complete by February 24th. It's been 2 months since my exams. When can I expect the decision? I would say you can expect the decision soon, but sometimes what takes so long in rating claims is that the contractor or examiner takes a long time to get the exams back to the VA. And so I've seen it take over 2 months. I've seen it take 3 months, 4 months, and the examiner just has no concern for the period, getting exam results back expeditiously. So you might want to call the VA, the 1-800 number, 827-1000, and ask them, have the exams been returned from the contractor? Or if the VA did them, have they been sent into your file? And they should be able to answer that question. They can't tell you what the exams say, but they should be able to answer the question about whether they've been returned or not. And then if they have been returned, you're just waiting on somebody to touch your claim. So you're just waiting to be rated, and that should not take that long. Can you claim sciatica by itself without a back claim? Yes. Can you claim GERD secondary to sleep apnea and long-term use of ibuprofen? Yes. Can we cite the M21-1 adjudication procedures manual if we file an appeal? Yes, you can. At the agency level, it's good to cite the M21 because that's what they understand. That's what their rater's guidance, everyday guidance. I call it the rater's Bible. So it's good to quote that in the appeal and let them know their error, how they did not follow the M21. But once you get to the Board of Veterans Appeals, the Board of Veterans Appeals is not bound by the M21-1. M21-1 is not law. It's just procedures and guidance. And so you could cite the M21 at the BVA level, but they're going to go according to what's written in the law and case law. Our service connected for PTSD. I am service connected for PTSD. However, I'm also service connected for sleep apnea. Can I connect insomnia to sleep apnea without touching PTSD? There is no need to file an insomnia claim because you can't be rated for 2 mental health conditions, and they consider insomnia mental health. So that would be pyramiding, and the VA won't allow it. What they will do, they won't allow separate ratings. What they will do is combine the two and give you one rating. So if you put in for insomnia, if effectively putting in for an increase in your PTSD, because you're going to get a mental health exam. The examiner is going to rate you, and if you're service connected for PTSD, they're going to look at that too. Generally, insomnia, I'm not a medical professional, but generally insomnia is listed as a symptom of PTSD and not a separate condition. So the answer to your question is no, there's really no benefit to applying to claiming insomnia secondary to sleep apnea rather than PTSD, because you're already rated for a mental health condition and you can't be rated for two. I'm due for a 5-year reevaluation. However, I don't see any upcoming appointments, and the 800 number says they don't either. Has anyone ever dealt with longer evals? Yes, it can take some time for the system to generate that that you need to be reevaluated. It's not anything that you should worry about. When it's time for your reevaluation and the system triggers it, they will send you plenty of notification. But it's not anything I would push unless you're looking to become permanent and total. It's just it comes up when it's time for it. Question about claim terminology. I was ignorant of my actions and submitted fractures of the skull on claim, and for years it was diagnosed as a musculoskeletal injury. 13 years later, it was diagnosed as a TBI. Why did that happen? Should it be retro to the first claim? That's a very good question. I would say that you have some grounds for a clear and unmistakable error, and that they did not interpret your claim sympathetically, like the M21 tells them to do, like the law tells the VA to do. And if you had a head injury, you likely should have been given a TBI exam back then. And so you might have some grounds for a clear and unmistakable error. I would strongly suggest you get help with doing that, and see if you can get it backdated to the first claim. What does a travel board consist of? It's just a hearing before the board. So basically they come to you. It's a judge that you'll be, a veterans law judge that you'll be in front of. I had a hysterectomy on December 19th and was denied 2 weeks ago. What should I submit for further review? The medical records from your hysterectomy. Are you trying to claim total temporary disability from it? If so, then is your hysterectomy service connected? It has to be service connected first in order for you to get that temporary total disability. So I was denied service connection for dry eye syndrome because they said it was due to elective LASIK surgery. My surgery wasn't elective. It was done due to pending deployment. It was done at Fort Bliss. That's interesting. You need to the VA considers LASIK surgery elective. That's what the M21 says. In order to prove it wasn't elective, I would write out a statement saying that the military made me get the LASIK surgery. I did not have a choice in it. I was told by my commander something I had to do, or by the doctor it was something I had to do. And dry eye syndrome should be considered on that basis. I might do a clear and unmistakable error on that, but the M21 generally says that dry eye syndrome is not service connectable when it was from an elective LASIK surgery. And LASIK surgery is not service connectable when it was elective. So it was done due to a pending deployment. So they made you do it. In that case, you need to get that straightened out with the VA. And there are ways of doing that, writing statements, submitting a supplemental claim, a higher level review maybe might be the best way to argue that. But you need to get the VA to, sometimes they look and they only think inside a box, the box that the M21 gives them. And so you need to get them to look outside that box. It says if it's elective, that dry eye syndrome is not service connectable. But if it wasn't elective, then it is service connectable. Good question. If you're at 72 total points, will the next claim of at least 10% get you to 80%? Generally, no, it does not sound like that, but you might, if your 10% is for your right elbow and you put in for your left elbow and you have both of them rated, then there's something called the bilateral factor is going to kick in. And it's like an extra 10% in most cases on your claim. And so it might raise to 80 in that situation. And if you have two joints, bilateral joints on the both sides. But I'm not a VA math expert or a calculator. So I would encourage you to use the online calculators. There's one at Micro Health. If you Google Micro Health bilateral VA calculator, it'll come right up. And you can see where you will be when if you get that next 10%. What is the usual time frame for a deferred item? Usually claims are deferred because they need clarification from the examiner. So it really all depends on how long it takes the examiner to get back to the VA, how long it takes the VA to send it back to the examiner, then how long it takes the examiner to send it back to the VA. I generally see it takes somewhere around 2 to 3 months, but I've had them go longer. I had one that's been waiting now in my system that's been waiting since the summer of 2019, and they went back to the doctor 3 times. So until they are really clear on what the doctor wants, it's gonna stay deferred. Have you ever seen obstructive sleep apnea, diabetes, or hypertension tied to PTSD or major depressive disorder? Yes, I have. I've seen all 3 of them tied to PTSD or depression. It's totally possible. I would find some studies on that or get some private medical evidence that links them, but yes, that's totally possible. When writing a 21-4138, can you point out or cite cases from BVA appeals if case is similar to mine? Yes, you can, but it's better to quote Court of Veterans Appeals than it's higher than a BVA. So you want to find some case law where there was a panel of judges and they decided on the law, made a decision that's binding on all other decisions. Those are the types of cases that you want to point out to the VA in order to substantiate your claim. But pointing out other BVA cases like yours will help. It just won't carry as much weight. Can I claim gastritis secondary to back fusion, service connected for my back due to long-term use of ibuprofen and back pain? Yes, you can. Does the VA look at where the outside doctors are from when using them as an outside doctor? Yes, they do. Can you claim diabetes secondary to sleep apnea? Absolutely. Because I submitted more documents after appeal, will I get a supplemental statement of the case? If you submitted more documents within the 60 days of the statement of the case, then yes, you should get a supplemental statement of the case. Can obstructive sleep apnea be secondary to migraines or tinnitus? I haven't seen that personally. In my mind, it would be a stretch, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. I'm not a medical professional, and I'm just giving you my opinion. But I will look in the BVA database, Board of Veterans Appeals decisions database, and see if anybody else has got it service connected before. Put the terms in the search and see if you can find another connection like that, and or study medical literature that links the two or something like that, and go for it if you feel like it's your migraines are causing your OSA, or proximately due to. A lot of times when secondary claims, when you claim something secondary, the doctor looks at causality, but they don't look at proximity, and so, or aggravation, and you need to make sure all those are addressed in a decision. Thank you. You're very much welcome. My pleasure. I've been denied for obstructive sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. I've given up. I'm giving up my spot to the next vet in line. I would encourage you not to do that. I would encourage you to appeal, get a good representative, and if you are tired and worn out and you don't want to deal with it, get somebody to fight for you. I don't always encourage getting an agent or an attorney, but in this case, I would. It sounds like you're just done with the VA and you need some help. So get help and keep pursuing it, because that's a valid connection. Should I reapply for TDIU, unemployability? I was denied 2 years ago. I was diagnosed with PTSD, 70%, up from 30% in 2013, 5 years ago. I was denied the first time. My total is 90%. If your disabilities have increased, your PTSD has gotten worse since the last time you applied for unemployability, I would definitely suggest that you reapply. Make sure you put it on a supplemental claim form or something like that, and you have new and relevant evidence. But yes, generally, I would reapply if they've given you a higher rating for one of your disabilities. Hi from Texas. Hello from North Carolina. What characteristics would you have for a good VSO? What characteristics, expectations would you have for a good VSO? That's an excellent question. I would find someone who will keep you updated, is responsive, is knowledgeable, will answer your questions. They understand the medical terminology and the claim lingo, and have a good understanding of claims. If this is going to take a conversation or talking to that VSO and filling them out, I would make sure my VSO had electronic access to the VA system. That way they can see things in real time and address any issues that might be needed to address. Just generally a polite person rather than somebody who's grumpy and won't want to take your calls or keep you informed. You don't want somebody who's piled with 1,000 cases, because you're not going to be able to get through to them. And you want somebody who's trained well. VSOs are volunteers. It's the free way to go to get help with your claim. And sometimes that means that they haven't had sufficient training, or the training that others have had to prosecute claims, prepare, and prosecute claims. And so you want to get somebody who's knowledgeable, who's responsive, who's polite, and who's not burdened down with claims. Thank you for what you do. I love doing it. Thank you all. Hello from South Carolina. Hello from North Carolina. We're the best. Carolina. Can the DRO change their minds if you have been denied an appeal before going to the BVA if you submit new documentation within 60 days? Have you seen that before? Yes, many times. They can change their mind. If you submit private evidence that proves the nexus or proves the claim, they can grant it. I've seen it happen before a couple of times. About to retire, how long to get my rating? Can I appeal? How long do I wait to do that? You should get your rating right after your retirement date if you did the benefits delivery at discharge route. That means you applied for you put in a claim 90 to 180 days before your retirement date. If something gets denied, I would definitely suggest you appeal. It's much easier to do up front than years down the road. Your body is going to break down on you over time. So if something's not a big issue now, it might be a big issue later, and it's connected to service, and they're going to give you a hard time down the road. So you want to fight anything that's denied or that you feel is service connected up front. And you don't have to wait to do that. Once you get a decision, you can put in an appeal the next day or a new claim. Okay. Is it better to have a VSO submit your claim? This is an interesting question. I say this almost every live, but if you are competent, you understand the VA system, you can read and interpret the M21 and how the Board of Veterans Appeals work and things like that, then not the Board of Veterans Appeals, but generally claims lingo, medical terminology, how VA world, if you can understand it, then do it yourself. There's no need to have anybody else do it. Treat your claim like a job. That's how I learned all I know. I treated my husband's claim like a job. And night and day I was at it. I read all I could read. I fought the VA all I could fight. He got 200% P&T. But I was able to interpret and fight the VA myself. If you aren't able to do that, you just don't understand, you don't understand why you're getting you weren't granted something, you don't understand why you weren't given an increase, or you don't understand how to apply, then I suggest you getting a VSO or claims agent. So do it yourself if you can, and you feel like you know enough. Get a VSO. If your claim is not very complex, or you need to send an appeal that's not very complex, get an agent or an attorney if there's complex issues to your claim, or you want somebody to get a nexus or private medical evidence for you. I have an appeal in for unemployability and is now waiting for the BVA, Board of Veterans Appeals. I also have an intent to file for several other disabilities. Now, when I submit these claims and they get approved before my unemployability is seen and it gets me over to 100%, how will they do the rating and back pay, if any? The TDIU has been since 2018. If your TDIU eventually, I just had a case like this, eventually gets approved, they're going to pay you from the date you put in that claim to the date you became 100%. So if you put in other claims and you get to 100%, you're still going to get your back pay if they grant the unemployability. but your unemployability becomes a moot point after you're already 100%, so it won't go any further than that. Hi, Nick from St. Petersburg, Florida. Hi, Nick. I was denied migraine claim even though it's service connected. I submitted my buddy letter DBQ and I take medication for it. Never sent to a CMP. Now I'm taking it to a higher level. What do I expect? Thank you. Be prepared to have a conversation with the decision review officer. Know the M21 provisions behind what you're arguing, the law behind what you're arguing, and point out the new evidence to them. The threshold for ordering, you need to make sure the DRO understands that the threshold for ordering a CMP exam is very low. And it sounds like you sent in more than enough evidence that would trigger the duty to assist for the VA to order you an exam. So I would rely on the duty to assist law, and that the threshold is very, very low. This is what case law says. It's very, very low for ordering an exam. You don't have to give the VA much for them to order an exam. Where can I look for specific diagnoses and their ratings? Wondering if I can get disability for erythema annular centrifugum. I have Googled but not found the specifics in the matter. I would look somewhere like the BVA search database, to the decision database. If you go to the Board of Veterans Appeals site for the VA, you will see on the right-hand side a list of options, links, and one of them says search the decisions. And choose that, put in what you're claiming and see if it comes up. The other place that you can look for conditions is the schedule for rating disabilities. That's in the law. CFR 38 CFR Code of Federal Regulations, or the United States Code. But that specific condition probably won't be in there. So you need to find out if a condition is not specifically listed in the schedule for rating disabilities, then they rate it analogous to that. They find a similar disability and scope, and they rate it based off that disability. For instance, shin splints aren't directly in the schedule for rating disabilities. So they're rated either analogous to the knee or ankle, depending on which part of the body is involved in the shin splints. I'm going to look up that condition right now and see what I can find. I want to be as helpful as possible. Ema. Let's see. ERY. Let's see. I see that word a lot in the BVA database. So it's definitely there, and there are other cases like it. Yeah, there are definitely conditions similar to it that have been decided. So I will look those up and try to find out what it's rated analogous to. First of all, thank you. This is great information. My pleasure. How would you go about finding a doctor to work with you to prove your claim? There's in the announcement section of the group, there's a master list of providers who do Nexus letters and that type of thing. So I would first go there, but call around in your local area and see if there's a doctor that will do them. Sometimes urgent cares will do them. Just the same people that do DOT exams and physicals or school physicals, sometimes they will take the time to fill out the paperwork for you. So you can call around in your local area, get on websites, find email addresses to the clinics, and email them. Do whatever you have to do. But if you need out medical evidence, you got to find somebody to work with. There's a couple companies that specifically specialize in medical evidence for claims. They don't file claims, which they shouldn't be doing if they're not accredited, but they just help you with the medical side of it. So I would look in the master list, see what you can find. If you don't find it there, ask the group if they know anybody in your area and go from there. I'm trying to connect asthma to sleep apnea. Where do I find BVA cases that I can cite on my 4138? Okay, I'm going to post the link because I keep talking about it. BVA.ba.gov. BVA.va.gov. If you go to that website and you look on the left-hand side of your screen, the right-hand side of your screen, there's an option called resources, and in that list, there's an option called search decisions. You just go there and you can search, thousands and thousands of decisions. I have a CPAP and service connection, but at 0%. I put in for an increase and they said I need to see another doctor, even though I just got this done within the last 6 months. They won't do telemedia either, so I have to wait. Any ideas? Yeah, you just have to wait for that CMP exam. That's what it sounds like you're waiting on. And the doctor should mark that you're using a CPAP on the DBQ they have to fill out, and that should get you up to 50%, but you're just going to have to wait it out. I have a video CMP exam tomorrow for PTSD. Will that doctor have all my evidence that I submitted, or should I be ready to send him files via email? Thank you, Semper Fidelis. They will have all of your evidence. That if you send it in with your claim, the VA sent all that stuff, the C file, to the doctor to review. So they will have it. If you feel there's very important parts of it, I wouldn't take a ton of documents, but just certain pieces that you feel are key to your claim. Just take those for the doctor and see if they'll look at them. But they're not going to give you their email address, and you're not going to be able to contact them after the exam generally. So you should be ready to talk about your evidence, to talk about your condition. They're going to ask things like, how's your marriage doing, how pre-military life was, what your parents were like, any legal problems, any post-service life, your life in service, any stressors, any triggers, what was the traumatic event, and how does it affect you every day, that type of thing. I've read that a vet can get an attorney to represent them in appeals or higher level reviews. What value do you place in their use? Thanks. I think I'm an agent myself. Let me put that disclaimer out there. But I think claims agents and attorneys are incredibly valuable to appeals, especially when things start getting complex. It needs to be higher than a VSO level. An agent or attorney will write out a brief. I regularly do them. They're 5 to 10 pages, or that explains your whole situation to the VA, that lays out the case law and the law. And I believe that I've read that at the Board of Veterans Appeals, at least, cases that have a lawyer or have an agent get approved at a higher percentage than those that don't. The percentage is not very much, but it is a higher percentage. I can't get a DBQ anymore. They said they have made them obsolete. Okay, I have a site where you can go get them, and I'm going to post that info. So everybody can see it, especially those that are watching this on replay. Let's see. Let me find it really quickly. It's a very good question. DBQs are not obsolete. They're still very much in play. It's just that the VA doesn't post them publicly anymore. I'm trying to find this link for you. Give me just 1 second. I know that I just sent it to somebody earlier this morning. Let me see. Because that's a very good question. A lot of people are having trouble with that. Finding the DBQs now. Okay, so that was sort of a wayward thing. Whoa, the link is really long. Okay, I'm just going to give you the short and sweet version really quickly. Let's see. That's the site. Veterans Claim Assistance Group that DBQs can be found at. Just go there. Let me make sure. I think you can search for DBQs and they come up. These are great questions tonight you guys are asking. Yes, just go there and search for DBQs and they should come up. Let's see. I have a higher level review of 1151 action. The reviewer stated after talking with me that I will get an answer in 3 weeks. She was very positive during my interview. Do you know what percentage of people are successful in having a higher level review? Those numbers aren't out yet, aren't public. The VA has only been doing higher level reviews for about a year now. Or they probably have some numbers. I just haven't seen them. So I don't know what percentage of people are successful. I know that higher level review is a good route to go if there is, you can point out the error that the VA made. I really enjoy it. It's a fast way to get claims and appeals done. And it's they usually send it back to a lower level to correct the error and that type of thing. So I think higher level review is an excellent route to go. If somebody takes your case and they don't evaluate the option of higher level review with you, then they're just trying to drag your case out for money. They need to first evaluate whether and give you a reason why they're not doing a higher level review rather than a board appeal. That's what I believe. Found with carpal tunnel and issue with my arms. However, at my CMP, they did x-ray and didn't find anything on x-ray, which they won't unless I had a fracture. As long as it's my service-connected record, in my service-connected record, which was mentioned by my doctor and other specialists, is that the defining factor are my CMP exam results. So the CMP examiner should have had the private evidence too. If they write that you don't have any problems with your wrist with carpal tunnel, because an x-ray will not show carpal tunnel generally. It might show some arthritis, but generally won't show the nerve condition. Then you need to ask for a higher level review and just simply state that they only gave me an x-ray. My private evidence proves that I have a nerve condition, and it should outweigh the CMP examiners because it's conclusive. So that's how I would handle that. I don't think that the CMP exam is the defining factor when you have submitted private evidence that proves that you have a nerve condition. Yes, there's the website for defined DBQs. Somebody posted it in the comments. Thank you. Are DBQs 2019 still accepted? Yes, they are. My question has to do with supplemental being denied. Trying to decide if a higher level review is best, MST related. I presented a ton of evidence with two Nexus letters. Why exactly was it denied? And a higher level review might be a really good route for you if you have all that evidence. Can you point out the markers in service after the MST incident? Were you given a CMP exam for the MST? What did the CMP exam say? Generally, higher level review is a good option. You just need to point out your evidence and combat whatever the CMP examiner said or whatever the reason for denying it said. Somebody said, thank you so much. You're better than a stimulus check. Keep hope alive. That's hilarious. Thanks, Doug. Doug Hayes is the man. He always has the latest info on the VA and posts daily all the time. Even when I can't get to the group, I'll go and I see Doug has posted 3 or 4 news items or relevant blogs or something for groups, on all the veterans groups. He is the man. We really appreciate him. Can you please cover unadjudicated claims? Okay, so there are times when I had this happen a couple weeks ago. I took a case. The veteran told me they had claimed certain things, and I went to review the C file, and I found a claim where the veteran had made a claim for hypertension in 1987, but the VA never made a decision on it. Some kind of way it got lost in the shuffle. So the route I take from there is you can do a clear and unmistakable error. You can do a supplemental claim and point it out to them. But you need to write out that the claim was unadjudicated and it's still pending, and why it's still pending for the VA, and get them to adjudicate the claim. There was a time when, forgive me while I'm thinking about this as I'm talking, there was a time before March 24th, 2015, where informal claims were accepted. That means you could write on the back of a paper towel that I think I have sleep apnea and turn that into the VA, and that was filing your claim. These days, claims have to be on prescribed forms, but previously, with informal claims, if you filed something or you made reference to something or the evidence pointed to a condition and the VA did not adjudicate it, then you need to bring that to the VA's attention and fight for your benefits, because it should be backdated to the date of the unadjudicated claim. I hope I covered that well. If you feel like you have a specific condition, you feel free to message me. I had a BVA hearing a year and a half ago. They remanded my claim. I went for a CMP in January. How long does it take to get an answer? Oh, wow. The remands are taking a long time, 12 to 24 months, I say. And so what you want to do is get a representative who can view those CMP exam results for you and tell you what's likely going to happen with your claim. That's the fastest way you can get some kind of answer until the VA makes the decision. Find a VSO, a claims agent with electronic access to the VA system, and ask them for your CMP exam results. What form should I use to request my C file? There's not a specific form for that. There's a lot of templates in the different veterans groups and this group and other veterans groups that you can use that cites the law and gives the VA about 20 days to produce your C file. They don't follow it. They don't honor it, although they should, because that's what FOIA, Freedom of Information Act law says. But last I saw, Doug posted something about there being like 100,000 pending cases for C files right now, pending requests. So they're loaded down with requests for C files, and it's taking 6 months or more to get your C-file. The fastest way to get your C-file is to find a representative with electronic access, because they have access to eFolder Express and they can download it for you. If they don't want to print it out, C-files can be thousands of pages, so that's understandable. Ask them to put it on a USB for you, thumb drive or a CD or something. That's the fastest way to get your C-file. But yes, there's templates in the file section of this group, and there's no prescribed form. Is there someone I can consult by phone? This is an interesting question. It depends on what you need. There's lots of attorneys that will do free consults for you if you're just looking for a consult and some quick information. I don't suggest just using them, but you know, that's a way to get some information. Lots of agents and attorneys that will give you a free consultation. How would I request a copy of new CMP exams? When I called QTC and asked if I could get a copy of my exam, they said they don't provide it. Get a representative with electronic access to get you. There should be one somewhere in your town or close by to get you your exams, or either you can request them under the Freedom of Information Act. QTC is not allowed to provide the veteran directly with the exam. They have a contract with the VA that the exams go back to the VA, and from there the VA gives the veteran the results. But definitely find a representative with electronic access. My father has been out of the service for 30 plus years. What are our options to get his medical files? Find a good VSO that has electronic access and give them the POA, power of attorney, the VA appointment form, and let them look through his electronic file, or either has he filed any claims before, because the VA should have his medical records if he has. Hopefully, but it's been 30 plus years. They didn't get destroyed in the fire in the 70s. But you have options for getting his medical files. You can also request them under the Freedom of Information Act directly from the archives or National Personnel Record Center in St. Louis. The fastest way, though, is to get a good representative. I requested, let's see. I requested my C-file May 2019. I checked last week and it says my claim closed 16 May 2020, and I haven't received my C-file yet. Can I go up to the VA and get a copy, or should I write my congressperson and get them to request it? It's likely that your C-file is on the way on a disk. It's very, very likely. If it's not, you could try to go through your congressperson to get it. It's election season. It's the easiest time to get politicians to move during election season. The VA is not taking public visitors right now, the regional offices, so you couldn't go up and get a copy. Generally, you could go up and look at your C-file, but you couldn't get a copy. Or you can find a representative with electronic access. I know I've said that a million times, but there are lots of people have it. Lots of VSOs have it. Attorneys have it. Agents have it. Find somebody with electronic access with eFolder Express, and they can download your C-file for you. Good afternoon from the great state of Texas. I need to file a claim, but prefer a female, but the VSO in my area is a male, so is a DAV rep. What are my other options? Look at accredited agents and see if you can find a female that you would feel comfortable with. There might be some in your area, but remember that VA law is federal laws nationwide, so they don't have to be in your area. I do a lot of work remotely. I'm not promoting myself. I don't do that up here. And there are a lot of other qualified accredited agents and VSOs, but I do a lot of work remotely. 60% of my clients I've never seen in person. So find you somebody that you're comfortable with. And that's a great question, because some people, especially when it comes to MST, it's just easier to deal with maybe another female. Can I get my exam results from the VA blue button if they go back to the VA? If the exam was done by the VA itself, then yes, they should be in the blue button. Okay. Last question. How did you become so educated on all VA subjects? You are amazing. Well, I had the VA propose to decrease my husband's rating at one point. After, I personally think it was retaliation. They had a local event and I went to it, and I kind of pushed the button a little bit on the subject with the rater. Next thing I know, 2 weeks later, we're getting a letter about a decrease. I was mad as I don't know what, and I was intent on the fact that he was not going to get decreased, because I saw the pain he was in and what he was going through every day. And at that point, I wasn't knowledgeable in the system, and I said, why doesn't pain itself do it? Why does it? His pain is great. Why isn't the VA responding to his level of pain in these exams? Well, by studying and reading, I found out so much more information. Reading the M21, reading case law, reading the Code of Federal Regulations, studied it like it was my job. I found out that it takes a lot more than pain for most conditions. So there are other aspects to a disability than just pain. So really, I learned all I know because a rater at a local event got smart with me and made me mad. And so I was determined to learn all I could learn. And since then, I found a passion for doing this, and I've become an accredited claims agent. So that's where I learned the most. I started really back in 2009, though, with my father, when he got 100% permanent and total a month before he passed away. And his claim has been pending for 2 years. He needed a surgery, and I wrote the congressman to try to get that pushed, and they finally came through. That was my first experience with VA claims. I started helping other family members, but when it came to my husband, I really, really learned the most, because I treated it like a job, and I was not going to let that retaliation happen from that event. How it affects your work life and personal relationships. I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you clarify that? How does what affect? I'm just going to wait a minute, see if Mr. Bucholz posts an addendum to his question clarifying that. But I've had a great time with you guys tonight. Thanks for all the questions. These have been excellent questions. That was a response to the pain statement. That's absolutely right. It's how it affects your work life. It's how it affects your personal life. It's about weakness, fatigability, balance, stress. a lot of things play into it. So I was just like, his knees are so bad. Why does the pain not matter to the VA? And I just couldn't understand it. Then I got educated on the process, and I worked the system that way. I got my husband private Nexus letters. We drove all the way to DC to get Nexus letters. Turned out we didn't need them because the C&P exams came back positive. But yes, I spent some money doing that. And once I learned the system, it was much, much easier to get him to 100%. When I met him, he was only 50%. Do you need to have a DBQ to apply for a female sexual arousal disorder? The answer is no. You don't necessarily need a DBQ. It's nice to have, but it's not required to claim that. They will likely, if you're claiming it secondary to something, they will likely send you to a C&P exam. Question, I just got 100%, yet have an appeal for 100% unemployability with a federal judge, not a VA law judge. The lawyer I'm not paying for says to keep going due to the high amount of back pay, yes or no? I would take the advice of the lawyer. It's probably in federal circuit court right now. But yes, if that appeal goes through, you would get a lot of back pay. I'm assuming it dates back a long time. I got rated 0% for dysfunctional urethral bleeding with DYS and fibroids. I don't understand because my symptoms have not been controlled successfully, so I should qualify for 30%. How do I challenge my rating? You can either put in for an increase, or you could ask for a high level review. You can put in a supplemental claim to appeal it, but there's 3 appeal lanes you can choose from other than filing a new claim. A claim for increase, you can do a supplemental claim with new evidence. You can do a higher level review where you talk to a decision review officer and get them to relook at it and possibly order a new exam. You need to find some type of error of fact or law in the decision, though. Or you can go to the Board of Veterans Appeals, and there's 3 lanes there. You can go the direct lane, the evidence lane, where you add more evidence within 90 days, or you go the route that you get a hearing, and that takes a much longer time. But you have plenty of options to contest that. It's probably quickest to just put in a claim for increase, but if you're worried about back pay and making sure you keep your effective date, then go the appeal route with a supplemental or a higher level review. Can you still get a condition service connected even if it was healed? Knocked my front tooth out during NTC and had it repaired with a porcelain tooth, but the VA said because it was repaired, it's not service connected. Any advice on how to overturn their condition? Okay, if a condition is healed, it's not service connectable. If there are residuals from the incident or from the condition where you got your tooth knocked out, then you can apply for those residuals. You can claim those residuals. For instance, if your gums are numb, your mouth is numb, you can't feel it, your gums bleed easily now, or you have some type of tooth disorder or something like that, if there's any pain, those you need to claim the residuals of the disability, of the incident that happened. You can't claim the incident itself because it's healed. I developed keloids after shoulder surgery. Can I claim it? Yes. I was diagnosed with flat feet in the military, but never really had problems with my feet. I'm having problems with my knees and back. Can I link my knee problems to my flat feet? Definitely. I've seen it a million times. That's definitely a valid connection. All righty. So I think that I've covered all the questions tonight. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Thank you guys for being part of the group. It's an awesome community. Let's try to be respectful of each other and always try to give accurate information out. And remember, if you're watching this on replay, it's not live, so I'm not taking questions live. I'll probably be back at the beginning of the next month if you want to ask questions then. But I wish you all much success in your claims. Thank you for all the thank yous. Y'all take care. It's my pleasure to do this.